of Milwaukee, Julie Wolf, who is here with us today. The Archdiocese of Milwaukee has been involved in a marketing plan for the last 3 years, and they engaged Emerald 4 now, and have had great success with it. We've been able to partner with them in our own materials, and they're going to demonstrate that for you today, what is available to you. And also, they partnered with Emerald Isle Marketing and Colleen Smith, who is also here with us today, both from Milwaukee. So please welcome them.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience this morning. Technology is such a blessing, but a curse sometimes at the same time. So we appreciate your patience. I think we're still trying to, are we connected now, Cindy? No, we're still trying to connect so we can record for you. But as Dave said, for now going into our 5th year, we recognize the fact that we needed to address our own decline in enrollment. We had seen a decline over a long period of time in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. And when I was appointed Director of Communications now going into my 6th year, I made the decision that we had to do something about this. This is my responsibility in the Archdiocese, along with all of the principals and presidents of our schools. But we knew what we were doing was not working. And so we partnered with Colleen Smith, who Dave introduced earlier, who is the principal of Emerald Isle Marketing PR in the Milwaukee area, to create a plan completely different from what we had been doing in the past. We actually turned what we had been doing upside down and started fresh. And so today we're here to share that plan with you, share our experience with you, in the hopes that Grand Rapids will have the same kind of success that we've had over the course of the last 5 years.
And I too am a parent of Catholic school children. I was born and raised in Catholic education, so I'm a huge cheerleader. So happy to be here with you today. We have a quick question for you. And the question is, as you think back to the last year, the last school year, as it relates to growing enrollment, marketing, communications, what was your biggest headache? What was your biggest challenge? Just give it to us. And there were many, I'm sure. But if you were to name one, what would you say? Yes.
I would probably say is getting families to the school.
Good. Yes.
Data collection. After all the programming, who came, why did they come, who were they, what was the purpose of the program? Was it worthwhile doing it?
What else did you experience? Yes.
I think, we have a great little marketing committee, and they have great ideas, but there wasn't the follow through. It sort of just got on.
Yes.
Finances too, we come up with these wonderful ideas, but just how do you pay for that?
Very good. Anyone else? Well, that's a great start, and we are going to cover that plus. So we appreciate that input. We have heard all of this before. And what we'd like to start with is a little bit about how our plan and how our strategy came to be, and take you through a number of slides that give some background before we move into your plan specifically. Okay, the plan we are about to present to you today is essentially 11 years in the making. It took us 1 year to craft and develop and create and brainstorm and test the plan, but the plan itself is based on 10 years of qualitative and quantitative research, both local and national. And so what we had the ability to do is have people of all perspectives at the table. We had parents, we had teachers, we had board members and pastors. We looked at the Notre Dame Task Force, we looked at the NCEA research, both local and national. And we interviewed dioceses who had recently repositioned themselves. They had rebranded and launched new marketing campaigns. And we touched base with them to find out how things were going. We discovered a lot. In fact, what we discovered is why parents choose Catholic schools. And it was very affirming. And if there were 3 primary reasons that you would give for choosing Catholic schools, what would you say that they are? The top 3 reasons.
Faith.
Absolutely. What else?
Academics.
Academics, absolutely. What would the third be?
Community.
Community. You nailed it. We also learned some additional things that were very helpful. We learned that parents love, and this really goes to the community, the family feel. They love the tight-knit connections. They love the relationships that are formed. They love the community that their children have wisdom from. We also learned that they love the personal attention of smaller class sizes. They like the structure of high standards, uniforms, expectations, and they love the long-term dividends that Catholic education plays. So just like we heard about the 13.6%, what we learned from parents is they know that their child does better than what they see in their peers who have attended public schools in the way of scholarships for college, in the way of long-term happiness, in the way of ethical leadership within their families, their communities, and their businesses. They love those long-term dividends. Parishes also benefit because parishes find that the Catholic school graduate is more active in their parishes. The Catholic school graduate tends to give more money to their parishes, so the dividends are huge. We also learned what doesn't work. And I have to share a quick story. We tapped the brains of the Philadelphia diocese. And 6 years ago, they had recently launched a new marketing campaign. And they were very excited to tell about the merits of that campaign. And we interviewed them and we started with, what did you do? And one of the things they did is mail a mass appeal from the cardinal, all parishioners of school-age children. The other thing they did is recreate a website. They asked and invited people to opt into an e-newsletter. And so we said, well, how did all of that go after a year and a half? How have things gone? And they said our web hits have never been higher. Anecdotally, we heard a lot about the Cardinal's letter. And people opted into that e-newsletter like they've never opted in before. But then we said, well, how did you do enrollment-wise? And they said, you know what? We haven't been able to move that ticker. We haven't been able to move ourselves ahead in enrollment, which was one of many aha moments that we had in our research, because the traditional form of mass appeals, which for them also included billboards and radio and TV, which is a nice compliment, but the traditional means of communicating was not working. And we found that diocese after diocese. That means of communication as a primary form was ineffective. So, on to the Archdiocese.
Well, just as I shared with you, Grand Rapids is in kind of the same predicament that we were in 5 years ago, in that you have also experienced a decrease in enrollment over the course of so many years. But what Colleen shared was, with our research, we were able to hone in on why we were experiencing that decline, what we needed to do in order to reverse that trend, and then develop a plan in how to address our issues. One of the issues in particular that we grappled with was our junior high retention. We knew from research that there was a drop-off at junior high, and in a minute we'll tell you some of the things that we've done to address that drop-off, but that was one area through research that we found that we needed to address. Another area was, and I think someone mentioned it earlier this morning, the development of 3K and 4K programs, and we knew we were missing out on that population as well. And our research helped us to realize that, and then together create a plan to address how we would go about recruiting from that age demographic.
One of the key questions we received often is, why now? And we did a lot of study with a variety of people who helped us answer that question. And there's a lot written, as you know. There was a New York Times article that talked about the unimaginable fact or prospect that Catholic schools may not be around in the future. In fact, in the New York Times article, they said, this is a crisis not just for Catholics, but for our communities. They talked about there being a window of opportunity available to all of us to change things around, to stop the madness, to increase enrollment, and yet none of us know exactly how long that window of opportunity will remain open. The Wall Street Journal, similarly, in the last year, wrote about Catholic education in the United States being in dire straits. And they went on to say, editorially, but we must guarantee that Catholic schools are here for generations to come. What we also knew in 2008, when we were developing and launching this campaign, is that we were in the midst of a very weak economy. And I loved Chris's point this morning about the economy doesn't matter. You know, at the end of the day, we have to prove value. But at that time, we had no idea what was ahead of us with the 2009 stock market crash and then the Great Recession. But what we knew is that it didn't matter how fragile the economy was, because what we also knew is that we remained consistent and tenacious and aggressive in our communications, we would stand out. In fact, what we hear about from previous recessions is many organizations pull back their funding. They say, we don't have the money to spend on marketing, so we're just not going to spend it, or we're going to spend a fraction of what we've done before. So that we saw as an opportunity to stand out even more boldly, even more obviously. So research shows that during those years, market share for companies and organizations who remain consistent and steadfast in their mission grow 2.5 times the average of traditional companies, which is exciting. What we had also learned from population studies is that we were expected to see a dip again. And what we hear about nationally is there is a demographic shift again that is supposed to impact enrollment right around 2015. And we knew we needed to start now to fend off all of that perspective negative, weak economy as well as population shifts. We had leadership support, as you do, from the top down. Our bishops were all over this and very excited about the prospect. And we realized we couldn't afford to wait. Our principals in surveys simply said, help. They said, number one, we're not trained as marketers. So, you know, how do we wear that hat too? We're not professional communicators in the way of marketing, science, and art. They also said they were struggling with the declining enrollments, and it was a major headache for them. And they said they were hungry for assistance. And so we knew, again, all of that collaboration and unison of refrain, which was help, that we needed to do something and do it fast.
So with a lot of prayer and a great deal of faith in Colleen and in my staff, I went to our bishop and said, please, let us do something different. Give me the money, give me the resources, provide the support, and let us help our schools market themselves. And so in 2008, we launched this new marketing campaign. Now, this fall, 5 years into implementation, we couldn't be more pleased with the success that we're having. In the first year, we actually cautioned our principals not to expect too much. We were afraid. I was afraid. I put my reputation on the line when I went to the bishop and said, give me the money and let me do something that we haven't done. So we cautioned them not to expect great results And yet in the very first year, our principals experienced a positive return on their investment of time and energy and saw an increase in enrollment. In the first year, we didn't see a system-wide increase. We saw an increase in pockets throughout the Archdiocese, and that continues to be the case. However, in just our third year, we did recognize a system-wide increase in Catholic school enrollments in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. We have more than 100 schools. We have 112 schools throughout a 10-county region. We have urban, we have suburban, and we have rural schools, each with their own individual needs. And we, through this plan, were able to provide them with the tools and the training that they needed to market themselves. In the past, we had used a more universal approach. We had taken the bucket of money that we had for marketing Catholic schools and used it from a universal media buy approach. And this new plan kind of turned that approach on its head and gave the tools to the principals and to the marketing teams throughout the Archdiocese to market themselves, to tell their own story. And as you can see in this number, Colleen and I talked briefly that this number is really outdated, and we apologize for that. So this is the 700 new students is really a conservative number and needs to be updated as of this year. But even with that, you can see that revenue increased by almost $2 million because of those 700 new students over time.
So we'd like to tell you a little bit about the strategy. And as Julie said, it is very focused. It's very targeted, and we're going to take you through each of the targets during this presentation. But just in the way of kind of a 20,000-foot look at the strategy, it's very much focused on the ambassador. And the ambassador is all of you. It's your parents, it's students, it's pastors, it's school boards, it's your parishioners. A lesser amount of the total strategy is devoted to the prospect. And we know prospects have varying degrees of interest in your schools. Some are very close to saying yes, others are just way off and may have had a tour or a conversation with you, but they're mostly on the no side at this point. And then the universe, that's where mass media plays a role. The universe takes only 10% of our total focus. The universe is everyone within your population area, so everyone within those zip code specific areas with whom you draw from. And we believe the universe is a wonderful complement to what you're doing for your ambassadors and your prospects, but it's only a visibility complement. And it's good to have a buzz, it's good to have conversation, and to show growth and momentum. And that's what the universal message can do. The beauty of this approach, and we'll get into it in greater detail as we go, is that you, as principals, as presidents, as marketing leaders, can't do this alone. You're one person. But imagine if you involve the force of your parents and your students and your faculty and staff and your pastors to unite with you to spread the word. And we all know the power of word of mouth. The power of word of mouth is massive. And yet, a lot of our ambassadors know only their stories. They don't have necessarily the full story to share because they sell it from their perspective. And what we help do through this plan is give your ambassadors the tools and the messages they need to be your marketing representatives out in the community. The frequency aspect of this plan is inherent. What I want to say is this plan is both a science and an art. And that is what marketing is today. We know a whole lot more about good marketing today than we did 10 years ago. We know very precisely what response we should expect with every strategy. We know very precisely how many times people have to receive a message before they get it. And you've all experienced this. You know, how many times do parents come to you with questions that has been in the newsletter, right? Or that you've communicated at parent information night. And you're like, how many times do I have to tell them that same thing? We've communicated this loudly and frequently. And yet what science tells us is we have to communicate 9 times on a topic before people really get it, before they really absorb it. and understand it, especially an investment like this with Catholic education. So frequency is key. The challenge with the 9 times rule is we're all living in this instant, very distracting world. They say every day there are 10,000 messages that we receive in one way or another. You know, it's email, it's text, it's billboard, radio, TV, live interactions, 10,000. And we have to tune a lot of that out because we just can't absorb it all. So they say 2 of every 3 messages are ignored or missed. And then you look at the 9 times rule that they have to actually receive 9 messages. Now you're talking 27 times they have to get a message. Well, and that can seem crazy, right? Number one, we don't have the time, nor do we have the resources. This plan is designed to give you those touch points. It's systematic, it's programmatic, and it's researched and proven. So frequency is key. Consistency is very important. I love your new bug, your new logo. I love the images that you use. You will see with the tools we'll be presenting to you today, the look and feel, even from a design perspective, is consistent across all platforms. The language is not the same, it's fresh, but it's consistent in its main messages. Consistency is key. You want people who see one of your pieces within 2 seconds to say, oh, that's Grand Rapids Catholic Schools. And we'll talk a little bit about branding, your logo within the diocesan logo and how important and how powerful you are as a system of schools promoting your school uniquenesses. And then this plan is very results driven because we all know we can create beautiful things and present wonderful words, but all for nothing if it doesn't do what it's intended to do. And so we track our progress every step of the way. Every spring, we send a spring survey to principals and presidents and marketing leaders, and we get great feedback. We refine things, we revise things, we add things, and so now you have the benefit of a lot of that refinement that we've done over the last 4 or 5 years. I want to emphasize just for a moment the 9 times rule, and just give you a feel for the science behind that. And again, this is based on 10 years of market study. But just to understand the frame of mind your prospects are in. When they receive a message from you, and again, Catholic schools, you've been around forever, right? But when it comes time to a parent making a choice, you know, for many of them, this is a brand new message that they're receiving. First time, not much thought is given to the message. Second time, they're starting to notice, you know, maybe they've gotten a postcard, they've seen something in the bulletin, they've heard from you verbally, they're starting to take notice. Third time, they know they've heard from you. Fourth time, they know you. Now remember, we say fourth time they've received the message, but if they've ignored 2 to 3 of every, right, we're now saying potentially 12 messages were sent out in one form or another, print, personal, or online. Okay, 5th time, they think they should find out more. Soon after that, they're thinking about logistics, finances, etc. It's right around the 6th message retrieval that many schools say our marketing program isn't working, you know, because there hasn't been a lot of result yet. And they'll say, we haven't heard anything. No one's bringing in the postcard. We haven't gotten any phone calls. What's going on out there? And yet there's all this happening behind the scenes in the minds of your prospects that you don't know about yet. So then the 7th, they're starting to get specific, figuring out the who's, what's, when's, how am I going to afford this? They're doing more homework, checking with trusted advisors, friends, colleagues, relatives. And we really say it's the 9th time where you can cue the heavenly music because that prospect comes in the door and they're ready to say yes. But it took all of those touch points, visits, phone calls, letters, postcards, etc., to get them to that yes. Okay? And this is, for some, it may go faster, for others longer. But this is the science that's proven. It says touch points and frequency of touch points is really key. There was a study done to support this idea And the study looked at a $100 product and a $10,000 product. And they measured the number of times it took to communicate about those two products before the prospect acted on it. And with every one, it took a minimum of 4 months for a prospect, regardless of the value, obviously, $100 and $10,000, took 4 months minimum for them to begin to see the return on investment. So our main message here is patience is key. It does take time, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it does work. So, quick video from some of our leaders who we think will help as we introduce the tools, tell you about what worked for them.
The tools that have worked the best for Northwest Catholic, we have found are the mailing list, because we were able to purchase the mailing list, and we've used that same mailing list 3 times so far with postcards that specifically had on it open houses for new families to be able to come in and register. We've seen a lot of people come in with the postcards to say, I want to tour your school. I've received this a couple of times. I'm here, I want to see it. We've registered, I'd say probably half of those people who have come in. Last year's enrollment was at about 385. Currently, we're at about 410.
I think the baptismal certificates, letters to the parents, the folders have been the most effective. Prior to that time, it was an untapped market. Now we're getting the word out at an earlier age, and we're starting to reap some of the benefits.
One of the things that has been important to us in the 2 schools in which I've worked, one larger school and one smaller school, is the fact that the materials are consistent and can be used over and over again.
Well, one thing that I found helpful is rather than being just one more thing I have to do, it's really a tool that I can give to my school committee advancement team and they can run with it. And it's really a platform that they can build on to personalize it for our needs at school, and they appreciate it very much to have that foundation to build from. Using the marketing plan at our school has probably helped us to stabilize enrollment. But I think if we hadn't used the plan, we probably would have had a downward trend.
And so I decided to use the report card, which was an excellent tool. I think it really defined our message. We used it in our parish bulletins alongside the beginning of a $2.4 million capital campaign for our facilities.
The benefits I've seen derived from this plan are that it's comprehensive. It offers people who may not have an idea of all the various pieces of promoting a Catholic school. They may not be having a background in marketing or advertising. And it presents them with a comprehensive plan that allows them to pick and choose the tools that they feel motivated by or work for them.
I can't help but believe that we're going to see probably a 20% increase in enrollment for this coming school year. I can't help but believe that all the tools that we use and the message that we were really able to hone in on after preparing the report card, I really believe that helped us considerably gain all the new traffic that's coming into Catholic East.
What the plan has done is it has very much inspired us, and I'm sure many schools, to realize the value of marketing their schools. And it needs to be done effectively and marketed in an area that's very competitive. We held a series of K-4 open houses, and as an inspiration for the plans for that, a lot of it was from the marketing plan. We added some other pieces as well, but I think because of that good marketing, we ended up filling, we had, the open houses were very highly attended, and in fact we filled up our K-4 classes for next year, and we have a waiting list already. And that's very important for the future of the school, but very good marketing was key to that successful open house.
So the plan, as I mentioned, is focused 60% on ambassadors. 60% means 60% of your time, your focus, your research should be on your ambassadors, giving them the tools, informing them, acknowledging their role, helping them have the messages they need to communicate the benefits of your school very, very well. 30% of the plan is focused on the prospects. Those people who may have toured or may not, who have varying degrees of interest in your school. And 10%, as I mentioned, is focused on the universe. Before we get into the tools, I want to make one key point. Near the end of this session, we're going to be handing out a copy of the plan. And we invite you and ask you to read this and know it very, very well. Because what we don't want you to see this as is a menu of options. Oh, well, I like the poster. Let's try the postcard. Or maybe the bulletin ad looks great. You know, kind of a maybe more of a sporadic, willy-nilly approach. What we suggest is you read the plan so you know when and who should receive each of the tactics. It's very scientifically based. It's not just when it feels good or when you have the time. So the plan will be key to this. So please see this as a plan with tools to support it, not an arsenal of tools that are meant to be used as you wish. You know, the plan will guide you.
So now we get to the meat. This is what I think you've been waiting for. We're here to roll out 35 tools for you to use as part of that plan, as Colleen said, today. In the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, we also rolled out 35 new tools the very first year for our principals and our schools to utilize. It was enough, but not overwhelming. Since then, over the course of these last 4 years, we have more than 170 tools at their disposal, from print pieces to email marketing campaigns, videos, webinars, and the like. But we knew that it was important to not overwhelm you with 170, even 100 different tools, because as Colleen said, you need to get to know the plan first. You need to make sure that you have help on the school level through a school marketing committee. Folks who have professional experience in public relations and marketing and communications and advertising and radio. Any of those folks are wonderful to have on the committee, but because of the plan and because of the way we've developed the tools and the way that you access the tools, you don't even need anybody with that kind of experience. Any parent can step in. Anyone who has the energy and the commitment to stick with it throughout the school year can be part of that committee. So those are some of the first things we encourage you to do. Read the plan, know the plan, recruit people to help you on the school level. Get to know the materials, which we'll run through with you shortly, and how to access them through our print portal, our online store. Everything that we have available will be available to you through this print portal, and I'll take you through it in just a minute.
So we're going to start with ambassador tools. And we have a little bit of a show and tell, so we want to pass around and hold up some of the tools that you will now have available to you. The point we want to make, though, is all of them have been professionally written and designed. And we would often hear from principals and marketing committees, they'd say, well, I've got a doctor on my committee and a lawyer, and we have, you know, a variety of people with lots of talents, but we're not marketers. So we would sweat every word. We'd spend 2 hours on a headline. And so now, that's all done for you. The headlines are written, the body text is written. And yet, you have the ability to change any of it. Everything's customizable. So if you want to highlight something very distinct to your culture, or your achievements, or awards, or whatever it might, you can do that. But you have this great starting point. And many of our schools use it and run with it as is, and other schools, you know, customize, and others might redo it completely. You have that option. The ambassador tools are essentially word-of-mouth tools. What we know is that, as I mentioned previously, everybody has a story to tell about your Catholic school. And yet if you asked your parents, you may have 50, 100, 200 different stories that are being told. We can't assume that everyone tells the full picture story. And so we want to help them with that story. So for example, I have a son at Marquette High School, University High School in Milwaukee. He plays soccer, he's in Hilltoppers for Life, he goes to Washington, D.C. every January, and He's vice president of the club, and he has all of his interests. Well, when I tell people about that school, I talk about academics and structure and then the things he's involved in. But I'm not talking about the arts, or maybe football, or the choir, or, you know, the achievement levels necessarily, all of those things that my sons have not been involved with potentially. So I'm not giving the full picture. We want to help you and your parents get the full story. So one of the first ways we help do that is we have what we call, I'm sure many of you have heard about the elevator card. You know, it's that elevator speech. The theory behind it is if you're in an elevator with someone and someone says, so, tell me about your school. You know, what are you going to say in 20 seconds? And if you have more floors to travel, what do you say in 2 minutes, you know, or 3 minutes, depending on the time you have. So what we help schools do is give every one of your school parents this wallet-sized talking point card, elevator card, and it calls out your main benefits. And there are usually 3 or 4, maximum 5 main messages. And we already have content here written for you based on research, but again, you can personalize this however you choose. But it's a great thing as you have your welcome back days with parents that you give them this. You affirm their role as marketers. You talk about your goals to get the word out about your schools. Tell them very definitively what your enrollment growth goal numbers are. Involve them in the process. And then provide cards that make it easy and handy. And remind them of, oh yeah, I keep forgetting about this aspect of my school. I need to make sure people I meet in the grocery store or neighbors, friends, relatives know the full picture story. So this is a great way to remind, affirm, and give them that first essential talk power tool. The other thing that we have available is a wallet-sized welcome card. And we have quite a bit of diversity in our school system, as I think every diocese does today. We have, you know, many languages spoken, we have many levels of socioeconomic status, and one of the focus groups in particular said, you know, don't give me everything online. You know, give me that personal opportunity to invite people to my spaghetti dinner at school, Catholic Schools Week open house, whatever it might be. So we have invitation cards. So on one side will be your logo. Anytime you see an apple on any of these materials, that's your logo, your school logo. And then on the other side, it's an invitation. Join us at Catholic Schools Week open house, whatever it might be. And literally, again, you keep it in your purse or your wallet, and you give these out like hotcakes. And you make sure people feel welcomed, that the welcome mat is always out and available, and you become the spokesperson for your school. Your parents do. But they have another way to do that. And everybody's comfortable with different means of communication, and many parents say they like this opportunity. So it's one of the ambassador tools. Posters. There are a couple of versions of posters. One is in Catholic school, every day is a holy day. And again, what we've done in the placeholder images is we've used your photos from the diocese, but again, your school images can be placed in any of these locations. What we have here is this wonderful Post-it note opportunity. So if you place this around town, on parish walls, in libraries, storefronts, etc., people can literally grab off your contact information. And then there's a little bit of information, again, your logo here, contact information. This tagline reads, "Religion is at the heart and soul of our learning every day," with cute children leading the way, obviously. The Post-its are refillable, and behind it there's contact information, so even if the Post-its are all taken off, so what, it's still there. But your marketing committee can be helpful in making sure those Post-it pads are kept up to date, you know, and check them every so often. The other version is designed to be a high school version poster. prepare your child for the tests of life. And then again, in education at your school presents you incomparable opportunities, including, and it has some key benefits. The system logo is there, your logo is on the post-it note, and so you get both logos involved with, again, your images, or you can use the images that are already placed for you that are diocesan images. So it can be as easy as that. Okay? One of the things our schools love is this annual report card. It's one of the most popular tools. The annual report card is suggested as a way to give kind of an at-a-glance overview of your school year to parents every spring. And it's front and back. So on one side, you can talk about diocesan achievements, statistics, standardized test scores, things like that that really set you apart as a diocese. And on the other side, you can talk about all of the wonderful things that happened in your school year at the end of every year. Because again, you're affirming with your ambassadors, you're reminding them, because they read about this in newsletters piecemeal, but now all at once, at a glance, they see all the great things that have happened at your school that year. It helps them enormously with the talk power. Okay? Now remember, ambassador communications are not only designed to bring new students into your schools, but they are designed to retain students. Because we know retention is an issue, and for us it was an issue at the middle school, junior high level. We were losing kids who were moving on to public schools at the middle school, junior high level. And so that's why we have a middle school retention fact sheet and a series of letters that already at 4th grade and 5th grade begin to tell parents about why junior high and or middle school is different. It's age appropriate. Theology is different. Curriculum's different. Changing between classes is different. We can't assume that our parents at those primary grades know those differences. And we found out from research many of them didn't. And so they pulled their kids because they thought it would be a better transition, perhaps to a public high school. So this junior high, middle school, and I know every diocese, calls it something different, but a retention fact sheet is designed to say why your junior high, middle school experience is unique and different, and why your children should stay in the Catholic school system. It's a beautiful series of communications that helps reinforce that message. And those are just a few of the ambassador examples. You'll see more as we go.
Before we move on to talk about our prospect strategy, I wanted just to take a minute to talk to you about branding and how important it is. As you'll see on the examples that we have on the screen, we have 2 logos on everything that we do. We co-brand in Milwaukee, the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, and individual schools. And we know that each school has its own look and feel, it has its own environment, it's known for certain accomplishments, certain programs, but we also know that the power of the Diocese of Grand Rapids brand will give each and every individual school strength. All I have to do is mention the word McDonald's. McDonald's is one of the strongest brands in the world, and it is still around for a reason. And I'll share with you that it's been a struggle in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee to communicate the importance of co-branding with our own principals, because everybody wants their own brand out there. They just want to use their logo and have that be recognized. But parents, business people, others recognize that there is strength in being part of a larger system, and certainly strength in being part of the Catholic Church. So, as you're looking at these materials, look at how we have co-branded. One of the things that we did hear from our own principals, and one of the things we conceded is, when we started, the Archdiocese of Milwaukee brand was much bigger in everything that we produced, and now we've kind of reversed and or equalized the prominence of brands on the various tools that we've produced for our schools, but we're still co-branded because we're still convinced that having that larger brand gives strength to you. The prospect strategy is a strategy that you want to spend about 30% of your time and resources on. It is focused at people with varying degrees of interest in your school, parents of newborns, for instance, our preschool families, parents who may be unhappy with their public school experience, and our religious education families as well. That is really a huge untapped market. In your toolbox this year, we have included the baptismal folder, which is also, Colleen said that our report card is one of our most popular tools, but in the prospect category, our baptismal folder is our top choice for principals. And it's tapping that market that we kind of forget about. We have to remember that in marketing, it's all about relationships and developing relationships. And so the schools have really found this to be very helpful in reaching out to new young families in their parish. And it's a folder. I'll show you our folder. We have a mock-up for you. We haven't printed your folder yet, but we will be soon. So I wanted to show you ours. It's a folder that that has several inserts in it, talks about the school. It's kind of that first step in developing the relationship with that young family. And our schools have really taken off with this and added additional tools and strategies of their own. For instance, my parish, the school children will also make a blanket so that when that baby is baptized, a school family presents the family and the baby with a blanket for the infant. Many schools, and on our print portal will show you this too, we can make promotional tools available as well. So many schools will follow up year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4 with letters on the child's birthday. They'll send a small token, a mini a little baby T-shirt with the school's logo and name on it, a bib, and those kinds of things, along with letters that we've pre-written for you again. It's hard to find the time to sit down and write those letters on an individual basis. And so they're crafted for you. And the nice part about going into the portal, which we'll show you in a minute, is that you can customize these letters as well. They're in Word documents. You can personalize them. If you've met with the family, you can change a few sentences reminiscing about your meeting, a personal invitation. But the body is done for you, and it's very time saving for you. Some of the other tools under the prospect category include our postcards. And we've gone from using the standard 3x5 or 4x6 postcard to a larger postcard as an option. It's a bit more expensive to print and to mail, but I'm sure you all had the experience during the presidential campaigns and the other campaigns. You're receiving postcards that are about as big as this folder. And so these postcards really help for your message to stand out. We also create bulletin ads for our parishes. So, I mean, how many of you read the bulletin when you leave Mass on Sunday? Right, it's a fabulous tool. As a communication director with a very limited budget, I use it all the time to communicate to Catholics in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. What we've done by creating these ads is that they stand out a little bit more than the standardized text would stand out, and they're branded, and they have the message that we want to be shared with parish families, and they're ready to go. You purchase them from the print portal, you send them to your bulletin editor at the parish, and you're done. So it's a very easy way to keep in communication with the parish, not only as a recruitment tool, but also as an awareness builder for people who may be willing to support you, people who have sent their children through Catholic schools, who are now considering helping their children send their children to school. And so you want to stay connected with those families through the bulletin as well.
We also have a brochure for you in the prospect category. Julie, you might want to just hand up, show the postcards. And we do have the small sizes as well as the large sizes. One thing to note though, as far as the expense, and you'll see this when we get to the print portal, is a large part of the expense of doing any of this, and you know this, is the writing and the design and the setup. Well, that's already done for you. And then the print portal vendor, because they know they're printing for all schools, there's that volume discount. So what you are able to print for, literally cents, per piece, is just outrageously below anything that you could find if you were to get a quote on your own from a printer or a quick copy location. So that's very cool, and that's one of the huge benefits of this program. The universe category is the 10% audience, and what we say is 10% of your time, attention, resources should be given to the universe. Everyone within your zip code specific feeder area. The reason we say that is because we know how important visibility is in your community. When you're in the newspaper, when there's a photo in a local paper or your daily paper about a Catholic school, that buzz factor just affirms in people, wow, this Catholic school system is really doing things, or that specific school is really on a roll, it has some momentum. It's that, subliminal and even conscious thought that you help support through this universal strategy. What we've done is we've given you some mass appeal items that you can print on demand or include in your newspapers. So in advance of Catholic Schools Week, you have an ad now that's been created for you and can draw attention to Catholic Schools Week. Or enrollment. You could run it in the spring, you could run it in the summer as people are making those final enrollment decisions. So that has been written and crafted for you and is ready to send to your local paper. We have various things including banners, and that is a great universal and perspective strategy. And Julie, we might want to hold that up and show it around. We get more comments from our principals who order these banners. And essentially what it says is discover, St. Mary's, and it has your logo and your website and or phone number. And those building banners are wonderful. They really draw attention to all of the drive-by traffic you have in the area.
I would encourage you, however, not to hang this banner inside your school. It is meant to go outside. I can't tell you how often I've gone to work with principals and marketing committees on their marketing efforts, and I walk in the school and the sign is inside. Internal marketing is very important, but where this sign is concerned, put it outside. Hang it from the treetops.
And the only time that's a challenge is, city ordinances. Some have very specific requirements about what can go in the building and whatnot. So we've had some schools who have had those challenges, and then the sign is moved inside. But the banners are great. And again, it's just that constant being top of mind is everything today. They say, I've heard so many people say, we live in an ADD world. We feel like we're all just so distracted, and short-term memory is getting more difficult, right? Whatever's top of mind is really important as you are making decisions and you're helping prospects make decisions and helping your ambassadors stay on with your school system. So be focused on that complementary universal strategy. But again, it's at the bottom of the list. If for any reason, at any time, you run out of time or you run out of resources, scratch the universal strategy and stay focused on your ambassador and your prospect strategy. It's that important. Okay. So we've had a lot of tools presented to you, and we do have a Q&A section at the end, which we'll run through with you. But we thought we'd tap back in with some of our principals and presidents, because I'm sure many of you are hearing a lot of this and saying, okay, it sounds great, maybe, not sure, maybe you're skeptical, but we know time is a major factor. Even if you have a marketing committee, it's still you who approves things, right? So we asked our principals and presidents a year into the program, we said, how do you find the time? So let's listen to what they have to say.
Delegate, delegate, delegate. Find good people to work with you, find good people to work around you, find outstanding volunteers to partner with you, and then take these tools and give them to people who have the expertise, perhaps from out in the business world or certainly within the community, to work with you to be able to get done what you need to get done. So I think it's all about finding great people, surrounding yourself with great people, not being intimidated by great people, and then being able to disseminate some of these materials to them, let them take the materials, work with them, develop plans and solutions, bring them to the principal, and I think our lives are a lot easier.
Well, part of my role as a principal is to call forth the gifts of other people. And so it's extremely important from my perspective that each of us doesn't take on the role of ambassador of Catholic schools and our own schools by ourselves, but to encourage others to become ambassadors for Catholic education and to encourage others to become involved and use their gifts and talents.
I think you can't afford not to utilize the materials. 10 years ago, St. Francis de Sales had good enrollment. We really had no need for marketing, advertising, endowment funding. Now, 10 years later, we're hurting a little bit for enrollment, and things that should have been in place weren't. That might have prevented the situation we're in now.
Having either a committee of parents, if that's what works for your school, so that you can divide out those responsibilities, or really looking at your budget and seeing where you might be able to take bits and pieces of that budget and form a solid salary for somebody who can be dedicated to being a marketing/development director is very useful.
What this plan has done is created a framework to make it easier, to make it more efficient to work with their marketing rather than starting from scratch on their own. It's made our job a lot easier in marketing.
Catholic education is important to the future of our church, our families, our communities, and most importantly to the lives of students that we touch. And so in whatever way we can support Catholic education, not only in our own schools, but throughout our communities and throughout the Archdiocese, we, I believe, have an obligation and a responsibility to do that.
Well, I think there's strength in numbers. If we're isolated entities spread out throughout southeastern Milwaukee, it's challenging. Now we have resources, we have people we can go to that have experienced similar issues, situations, and it works to our favor.
So it's something that we can do together that we wouldn't be able to do individually.
At this time, I think Catholic schools have a great deal to offer with their Catholic identity, given the message they have for our culture.
It reminds us that we're working together. We're working to establish a Catholic presence in this area. We're working on Catholic formation in this area that's going to bear fruit for many, many years as these wonderful children stick with the church, as they consider vocations, as they tell others about the good news of Jesus Christ.
And so now we are going to take you through the print portal I've been talking about. But before I get started with that, I also want to share that through this partnership with the Diocese of Grand Rapids, we will also be available for consultation, and that can take on many different forms. That'll be up to your superintendent. In addition to that, we're also making available 3 different webinars on topics that you can choose from. We have 14 or 15 webinars that we've created for our principals and marketing leaders over the course of the last few years. Anything ranging from using social media to developing relationships with media in your community, how to purchase advertising, merging schools, junior high retention, any number of webinars that will also be available to you to use. The message is that this is a very comprehensive program, so it's not just the tools here, but it's important that you train yourselves to know as much as you can about marketing and also help the people who will be helping you, your ambassadors, your marketing team, to learn as much as they can to take the load off of you. We know how busy you are, and that's why I think that this program has been so successful in our archdiocese, because it's turnkey. It allows you to be creative, it allows you to customize, but if you don't have the time, you're ready to go, you're ready to hit the ground running immediately. I'm going to attempt to give you a quick tutorial on the print portal or online store that we use in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. Now, I hope you'll be patient with me because this is our brand new portal, which will be your brand new portal, but I've been using our old portal for 4 years, and we just transferred all of our 170 tools over to this new provider because it benefited our principals. This vendor provides cheaper prices. Their portal allows the user to do so many more things. It's more intuitive, which we'll see if that works in a minute, if it's intuitive or not. And it is, I mean, we're just thrilled to be partnering with this new provider. So when you have access to this portal within the next month, this is the home screen that you'll come to, and you will all be given a user ID and a password and be able to log on to this store. So how many of you have purchased a Christmas gift online? This is pretty much like purchasing a Christmas gift online, as easy as that. And you can see that we're branded here at the top with our brand and education you can have faith in and our own photos. Uh-oh. I'm stealing Sister Peach's login information because my screen will show you an admin screen and I didn't want to do that. So let me type this in again. There we go. So the second screen that you come to is a welcome message, and you'll see toward the bottom we have a couple different contact people for our principals. Should they need assistance, should they need to do something that we call offline, something that the system might not be able to do. And we have a contact person with QBF, our provider, and then we also have a schools marketing coordinator who works in my office. Katie Heino will go out and work directly with all of our schools, tutoring them on the plan, showing them how to use the print portal, training their school marketing teams. And Katie and Heather proof every order that goes through the system. So we have a multi-level proofing system because we want to make sure that the quality of the product that we send out into the community is the very best that it can be. I'm going to go shopping, and so I just click on shop, and I think we'll try a postcard. Let's try a postcard. So you decide that you want to do a mailing to your community. You're targeting preschoolers for your preschool program, and you can choose a postcard. All of the postcards under this prospect category are programmed here. And again, this is our portal, so you will not see this many postcards on your first venture into the portal, but we have several that we've developed over time. You can also see that they are in different sizes. The 5.5 by 8.5, the 6 by 10 or 11, the ones that we've passed around are the larger ones. If you want to send or have the provider send the postcard for you, you would click on the direct mail option, and then you'll receive information on how to purchase a mailing list if you do not have a mailing list, and or how that provider can merge your mailing list. So for instance, if you have a mailing list through the parish office, but you also want to reach out further into a specific zip code or a specific demographic. They will help you to develop those mailing lists. And the fabulous part of purchasing the mailing list through this vendor is that you can use that mailing list multiple times during the year without having to repurchase it. And so there's a huge cost savings to you. So let's just take a look here. This is the postcard that I like. And so I click on it to enlarge it so that I can read it. And it'll open a new window. So this is our 24/7, 365-day-a-year postcard. The fabulous part of this plan, and one of the reasons why it is so successful in Milwaukee, is that everything on this postcard is customizable. So we've had these pictures professionally shot. We have logos that we professionally create for our folks back in Milwaukee, or we refine them if they have one in place that they like, but they want to tweak it a little bit. And we create the text, which is on the back. We write the text, we write the headline, we format everything, but they can go in here and they can change a few things or everything on this postcard to meet their needs. This is where creativity comes into play on the school level and with your marketing team. If you have something that you need to promote, if you have a target audience that you want to reach out to and you don't see the correct text on the tools that we've provided for you, if you want to put your kids in their school uniform on that postcard and your logo, you can do it through this site. So let's take you and show you where you can customize. So I'm going to order 100 of these postcards, 33 cents a piece. And I am able to either upload a new logo or use from a logo that's already been saved in the system. So in the beginning of the year, you will all turn over your logos. They will be saved in this system, so you don't have to upload it every time you go in to create a new tool. If you want to change the image, you can either use the default image, the image that you see, or you can upload a photo, which I'm not going to do it this time because as I'm looking at my watch, I see we're running kind of short on time and I want to save time for questions at the end. You can also customize your header or heading. On the back, you see that the header is faith spoken here. If I want to change that, just as in a Word document, I delete the text that's there, type in something new, and then update, and I have a new postcard. We have spell check built into this print portal, which is fabulous. Again, I said we actually have a 3-part approval process with Katie, with QBF, and I also approve the postcards. And then over here, once you've made the changes, you can click here to view your proof so that you know that all of your edits have been made. Uh-oh, there we go. Well, I wanted to show you where your logo falls into place. St. Charles, the reason I logged in as Sister Peach is because I wanted her logo to show up. And then our brand or our logo, the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, is on the back of the card. So when you log in this fall, you'll have 35 items to choose from. As time goes on and the relationship continues, we'll be able to make more tools available to you, including the webinars, including some of the promotional items perhaps that you already use. But the fabulous thing about coming together through a portal like this is that you have the buying power of all your schools coming together, so the pricing is fabulous. So that's just a glimpse. We will also share with you a webinar, a step-by-step tutorial where you'll be able to practice doing this. And like I said, it's pretty intuitive, just like Christmas shopping.
I did hear that every school has a $600 allotment to use for the print portal. Your superintendent shared that information. That's fantastic. That's really good. You can get a lot done with $600. So it's a generous investment to start with.
I was just going to add that we offer our schools $500, so you one-upped us, Dave. But there's really no excuse not to go on this portal and order these tools. But the other thing that I would encourage you, and I encourage all of our schools to do, is to make sure that this is a primary a budget line item for you. Marketing is important, and as Colleen said earlier in the presentation, even through that recession, when it's really hard to find those dollars, it's still very important, even more important, to be able to, send the message to your pastor and to your school board to let them know that you need a marketing budget. So $500 or $600 is just a starting point, and I would encourage you to, as you begin to implement this plan, to already start thinking about next year and how you're going to increase that budget.
So here's a little recap about why you will succeed. And again, it's because of this great marketing power that this plan will help you employ. And when you look at the numbers alone, the 6,000 students, parishes, 32 schools, 1 diocese, you have 100% leadership support. You have an army of support to spread the good news. And so when we hear about your goals of 1,000 some new students, very doable. We know you can do it over a 3-year period without a doubt, if you use this plan. What we've found, as Julie mentioned, we saw system-wide increases the second year into our program. That means that most schools increased their enrollment. The schools that did not embrace this plan fully did not grow. And we know there are lots of variables for growing or not growing, and there are some aspects of things that happen that you have no control over, but marketing played a key role in the growth among schools who did see themselves grow. So what we also know is that, again, science, this is a blend of art and science. When you have a good experience, similar to the service introduction we had this morning, when you have a good experience, it's said that you tell 6 to 10 other people about it. Well, the same is true for a bad experience, right? But if people feel well served by you, if they feel that the welcome mat is always out, if they feel greeted, with quality, that experience, they'll tell others about it, because unfortunately it's not so common in today's world. The welcome mat being kept out is really important, especially for those primary grades, because what we found from research is even if someone has decided on a public school, between the ages of preschool and 4th grade, parents are still willing to send their kids to Catholic school. They may not be having a good experience. They may be struggling with something, their child may not be happy. And what we've heard from a lot of parents is they considered moving them to Catholic school, which was part of their, early thought process, but then they didn't make the move because they thought the transition would be too difficult. And they wondered about things, and they hadn't heard from the Catholic school in a while. So keep those communications going, even if someone says no, because it may be a temporary no, okay? And of course, all of our messages and mediums prove value, and that's really key to everything that we've got going. Okay, getting started. Here's a checklist. We want you to read the plan, and we're ready to hand that out now. Don't read it right now, but read it soon after this session. And in it, there is a checklist of information to know about and mark in your calendars right away. We suggest you review and order the tools on the portal, and your portal will be ready. You'll get an announcement, but right around September 1st. We will be doing a webinar most likely on the portal, so we can take anyone from any of your marketing teams or staffs through the portal very specifically. So it'd be a 30 to 45-minute version of what you just saw Julie take you through. Calendaring is very key. We want you to calendar the systems and the program and the tactics in order to achieve those touch points, the 9-time touch points. What we'd like you to do now is look at the back page of your plan. We have a sample timeline in there. And of course, this can be adjusted according to your individual school calendars. But our schools, after year 1, gives us a sample, so that we can begin with our marketing committees committing it to the calendar right now. So this guides you very well with regard to all tools, how to use them, and when we suggest you use them. And yet, there are things you will likely change up, like the report card. Maybe you give it at the beginning of the school year and you reflect on the past year. There are many creative ways to adjust that as needed. Start with your ambassadors, obviously. Measure and evaluate every step of the way. We will be following up this session with some evaluation tools that will help you track. And then you start again. Year after year, you start again. And you'll get much more confident and creative and tenacious as you continue that process. A couple of attributes that we want to take you through, attributes of good marketing leaders, include several things that we want you to be aware of as you go through this. And the first idea is the patience attribute. And we talked about that during the 9 times rule aspect, but what we know is that this will take time. If you begin the program in September, you will not see results in September, although you may, because we've heard of those situations. But typically, remember, it'll take at least 4 months before you really begin to feel the power of this program. It will take time. Much of what you're doing, especially with baptismal pieces, are seed planting, so you won't reap the benefits of that for 4, 5, 6 years, potentially. So have patience. Also, use your imagination. They say, make sure you do competitive intelligence. Make sure you know what your competing public schools are doing. Send someone to an open house. Send someone to a visit. Tour the school. Know what they're marketing. What are they putting forward as their points of difference? Make sure that you are sharing your uniquenesses in each of those categories. So competitive intelligence and really imagination as it relates to taking this core program and going gangbusters with it. Like the baptismal program, there are people who start with these tools, and then before you know it, they have the kindergartners writing notes to the preschoolers every year through age 5. These cute kindergarten notes go out. Some people are making special bibs for the newly baptized. We have principals that are doing things that are just amazing because they take this core idea and they run with it. So be creative. When you place your print ads, where you place them, where you put the posters, think about realtors, think about grocery stores and gas stations. Sensitivity, have a sixth sense. Trust your gut. There may be something with one of the strategies like prospects and you say, we're really onto something here. An example of that is one of our postcards talks about that family feel, the community sense, kind of the intangible aspect that we learned about in research. We didn't have that postcard or that messaging in year 1. And yet, the more we heard and listened to our parents and our principals, we realized that's a powerful benefit to our Catholic schools. And so we began running with that theme more and more in all of our communications, including bulletin ads. It means a lot to people in these very disjointed worlds that we live in. So have a sixth sense. Pay attention to your intuition. tweak and refine and deliver things maybe in different ways just because you have a sense that it might play better or be received with more attention if you do it in a certain way. Consistency is key. We talked about that over and over again. The tools you have today, you'll look at and you'll say, okay, let's embrace it, let's adopt it, let's get it out. And all of a sudden after year 2, year 3, you might say, oh, you know, let's just change up the format of these postcards. Let's, you know, we need a refresh. Let's redo. Remember, you're going to get bored with your materials because you see them often. You may get bored in year 2, you may get bored with year 2, 3. Your prospects and your ambassadors will not get bored with it because they're not seeing it every day the way you are. So let that go. You know, put your creativity into the imagination of extending the strategy. Put your creativity into customizing some of the existing materials. But don't worry about getting bored with some of the materials. That's human nature, and it can happen and likely will. Be stable. And if you are stable and consistent in your theme, your format, your main messages, you will be successful. People love stability. They want to know what to expect from you, and you deliver that through your messaging and your outreach. And then ego strength. I love this whole idea of, you know, be a gorilla. Market to beat the band. Be enthusiastic. Be that cheerleader. It's contagious. And you have your ambassadors who will emulate you as you do this. But think always creatively, and then let it go. Delegate. Let others implement. You know, you can be the idea person, but then let others do the specific. One last video, and then we're going to do Q&A. This video we did last year. And it's from some of our cheerleaders. It's from some of the university professors, deans of some of the colleges, some of the administrators in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, as well as some of the marketing committee and principals. Now already we are 3-4 years in when we hear from some of these individuals. It's really a rah-rah type video, and it's meant to say, keep going. Things are going great, you know. Keep it going, pay attention, stay focused on the program. So, let's listen in.
Well, the Archdiocese of Milwaukee has amazing schools, and each school has a unique story to tell, has unique things that happen in it every day. And when people walk into our schools, they know immediately they're in a special place. I think one of the things that our schools could do to continue the momentum is to continue to tell our story.
Catholic schools are on a roll. We are really pleased with the increase in enrollment and the complete interest of the society, of the community as a whole. People are really pepped up, really fired up about Catholic schools and Catholic education.
I think schools have to be intentional nowadays. It's not an option to relax, to let up. The market is entirely too competitive, and I think if schools are astute and want to move forward with their enrollment, then they will use the tools that the Archdiocese is providing for that very purpose.
Keep using the materials, because studies show that people need to hear things multiple times. So even though your first attempt with sending out postcards or a mailing didn't give you the return that you thought it should, to keep doing it, that sometimes people need to see the name and your materials multiple times before they respond.
What I would say to anyone who's hesitating to expend resources on marketing is that you can't afford not to anymore. You absolutely must spend those funds if you expect to drive enrollment up.
I came from a different archdiocese, and I came from an archdiocese where we were very much on our own in terms of each school was left to determine its marketing communications plan. We did not have the resources that are available in this archdiocese.
Our budget is tight as well, but you have to invest in the marketing in order to bring a student in. If you get only one student and that student stays with you from K4 through grade 8, that's tuition every year, that's additional students in your building. I would say you can't afford not to.
All the time that I would spend normally trying to write a really great sounding postcard or letter to send out to families for marketing, it's already done for you. So it really saves me a lot of time that way.
The marketing materials available through the Archdiocese were created by marketing and public relations professionals. So we have the ability to utilize those materials without having to try to reinvent the wheel ourselves and create them. So it saves a great deal of time in the creativity process. You're not trying to create ads.
The print portal, the various materials that schools can order are just outstanding. You have tools that are ready-made for you. Those tools are things that more and more principals need to take advantage of.
Follow through the plan. If you take the time to read through the plan, it's laid out very nicely throughout the year, and it really helps to know when to use certain tools, when to do your mailings. So it's all right there for you and all spelled out.
We need to do a better job of really developing marketing committees in our school communities that are comprised of professionals, people who have expertise in marketing and communications and who can advance the story and the marketing plan of the school.
Well, the way we've structured it in my school is my education commission members help us with some project type things. For instance, they had some enrollment signs made to put in people's yards.
We really need to be shifting our paradigm and how we think about how we work with one another. The schools around us are not competition. They're like cousins. And we want to work with our cousins. We want to be one large family.
Each one of our 30 company stores were all individual stores. They all had their culture, the nuances of the place, but it was all part of the corporation. And with our Catholic schools, the power of the Catholic schools is what's driving the nuances and the success at the local level.
One of the things that I like about it is it gives us a lot of latitude to structure it in a way that's beneficial to us. Also, there's a rather wide range of materials, and so we can pick and choose.
The reality is that the Catholic Church has a 2,000-year plus history, and it is a wonderful history. And there's many good things that have happened in our schools. And we have to be telling, I keep talking about telling that story. We need to be telling that story as a collective family. We are all connected. We need to continue to be connected, and there are strength in numbers.
Catholic education has traditionally been a national treasure, and I think it's important that we promote our brand any opportunity that we get. And to my mind anyway, what we're really talking about here is academic excellence and faith formation. And in Catholic schools, it's a lived experience you can't get anywhere else.
And the reality is that we live in a time where if we don't make some significant changes in how we operate, how we do business, we're going to watch ourselves slowly die on the vine.
Some 85% of the children in our Catholic families attend public schools. And it seems to me that's either an opportunity, a failure, or a call to action, and probably all three.
There are some principals who I think they don't feel they need to put any effort into marketing communications, that if we build it, they will come. The reality is that we need to be very intentional. We need to be intentional with our efforts, with our messaging, with our outreach, and good things can come with that.
I really want to take this time on behalf of my entire family. I want you to know we're all customers of Catholic schools, grade school, high school, university, and we want to thank you. And my grandchildren want to thank you. We're also 7 of them in Catholic schools. We want to thank you for your dedication, your hard work, because without you, there would be no Catholic schools.